The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, so this is my third time recording this. Hopefully third time's a charm. The first time my values didn't match, and the second time I actually didn't have any sound when I uploaded it. So that's cool. Anyway, this video is to help better understand the count if and sum ifs formulas. Additionally, I'm showing how I would analyze this data because it isn't using the count if or sum ifs, and I will go over why. So first let's talk about the count if formula. So the count if formula is pretty simple and straightforward. Basically what it's going to do is it's going to count the number of lines in a given set, or the number of entries in a given set based off of some sort of an argument or some sort of an explanation. So in this instance, it's pretty straightforward. You can see here, it's count if you have your range of cells, and for this entire exercise, what I've assumed is that if we're talking about the subtotals or the totals, you want the total amount of the loan balances based off of a maturity date of 1/1/18 or newer. So anything past 1/1/18. So that's the assumptions for this entire thing. So yeah, the count if, like I said, is pretty straightforward. You enter in a range of cells and you enter in your argument. So your argument in this instance, I'm just saying, is greater than or equal to 1/1/2018. And it's counted the total number of lines within this data. The sum ifs is a little bit more confusing, which I typed it in up here and I'll retype it in. So the reason why the sum ifs is a little bit more confusing, and again, you'll want to use sum ifs, not necessarily sum if, because sum ifs will allow you to take the total from one cells based off of criteria in another set of cells. So the first thing you do is your sum range. That's the range of cells that you want to pull the sum from. So I want to say, what's my loan balance for everything with a maturity date beyond 1/1/18? So my range of cells is N9 through N38. Oops. My range of criteria cells is R9 through R39. And then my criteria, that's my argument. So again, that's anything greater than 1/1/18. So that will give me, again, and that's the same thing that I have here, that will give me my range. That will give me the sum of the loans with a maturity date beyond 1/1/18. So that's count if and sum ifs. You can definitely make this argument a little bit more complex if you wanted to, but that's it on its face value. So I'm going to show you why I would use the subtotals formula, not the sum if. So the subtotals formula is going to give you the value of the cells, the value of the cells based off of the filters that you add. So the one kind of confusing thing about the subtotals formula is that it has a bunch of functions, and for some reason, just the way that I was taught, I always use the functions that start out with, that are in the 100 range. I can never make them work with the other ones. So anyway, for a count, I'm going to do 102. And then again, my cell range. And then that's my count one. And then for my totals, there. Now, what I like about these subtotal formulas is that as I apply filters, it changes it. So if I want to look at the loans that, using that same criteria, the loans that have a maturity date of 1/1/18 or closer, I can just go through and filter those out. And you'll see here that I'm getting those same values that I got on my count if or sum if. The thing that I like about using those is it's a little bit more dynamic, because then without changing my formula, I can go and say, okay, well, what does 2017 look like? Okay, well, 2017 looks like this. If I did my count ifs, I would have to enter an argument that's between 1/1/2017 and 1/1/2018, which is just a little bit more confusing. And that's why I like to use those subtotal ones. If I wasn't going to use those subtotal ones, I would probably use a pivot table. So with a pivot table, I would come over here, and I've got to move my little chat box recording thing. With a pivot table, I'd come over here and highlight everything and insert a pivot table. Click on OK. And then from here, I could select my date, maturity date. It's going to break it up into years for me. And then I can say loan balance over here. So this will give me a count of the loan balance. And again, 1 plus 4 would be 15, which would match our original one. Then you could also pull in, I don't want maturity. You could pull in the loan balance again, and then change this value to sum. And then it's going to show me my sum. And again here, if I add those together, it's $100,000, which matches the data that I was originally pulling. I love pivot tables. I use pivot tables a ton. And I think that they can be really helpful. So that's how I would analyze the data versus using the count ifs and sum ifs formulas. Just because it's a little bit more dynamic, and instead of giving me that one small piece of information that I need, I can go through and get a lot more information. The one thing about a pivot table on the data that you had is that you do have sum lines for each of those, and so those sum lines are included in the pivot table, which is likely what's driving like this right here. So you wouldn't be able to use this piece of information. It's irrelevant because it's also including your total lines. So hopefully that's helpful. If not, or if I was totally off base, let me know and I can provide some additional clarification. Thanks.